10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. This is Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. Very simply, the first thing is we wanted to mention that we're going to be at CPAC. That's the Conservative Political Action Conference of 2019. We're going to be down there with the Exceptional Conservative Show. We're going to be there with Dr. Jane Ruby, The Lid, and several other great podcasters and individuals who do independent news coverage. I can tell you that we're all going to get the same type of coverage and package and access as Fox News, as CNN, as any of the national news media. We're going to be doing this live. I'll be broadcasting 2 hours a day, each of the days. It starts on February 27th, goes to March 2nd. I will be there the entire time. We have several people lined up. Hopefully, we'll be speaking with Deneen Borelli and a few others. We're waiting for some confirmations. But as soon as we know, we'll let you know. Separate of that, I want to mention that tomorrow we will be doing an interview with Lily Tang Williams. And she is an exceptional woman, been doing a fantastic job. Love working with her. She was in China. She was born and raised in China under communism, came here to America, has embraced America completely. She became a citizen. She has her children here. She's an advocate for the Second Amendment, for the Constitution. I had a great time speaking with her when she was running for the Senate in Colorado. She's a libertarian, and I look forward to speaking with her again tomorrow to see the latest developments over in China and also what she thinks of many of the changes we see now in 2019 and going forward. So that's something to look forward to tomorrow. Now, the main thing I wanted to talk about, though, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is, for lack of better words, a very unique individual. She has some problems. One of the things that's a problem is looking at what she has to say about, well, a lot of issues. She's taking credit for the Amazon leaving New York. Breaking news came out today. Amazon has left New York City, and that deal, the $3 billion bribe that they had received to be there. And they're saying that it was because, well, they're looking long term. In other words, they wouldn't get the $3 billion they wanted to bribe them, a company that has net profits of about $2 billion on average per quarter. And because they're not getting an extra $3 billion, they decided not to go to New York City. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and some of her fans are saying that it's because they wouldn't make a union. I don't think that was the pressure that forced them out. But we have yet to hear, so we may find out more details as we go forward. But the big thing that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been talking about lately, is that she's in favor of the GND, the Green New Deal. Everyone has been talking about it because it is one of the silliest bills ever. It's called HRES 109. If you want to look it up, go to congress.gov and you'll be able to find the bill. And that's because of all the provisions it has. It's going to get rid of airplanes. It's going to get rid of cars. If you have a gas-powered car, that's going to go away. 260 million cars will be taken away from Americans. You won't be able to fly anywhere. Planes will no longer be of use. You can't do international trade because cargo ships will be gone. All in the hopes to create a green environment, which is actually very silly because we have to take into account that China and India and 2/3 of Africa and all of South America, they're out there, they're creating more greenhouse gases. They don't care what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez feels should be the green energy policy of the United States. And they're making more greenhouse gases than we are reducing. In fact, we are leading the world in the amount of reduction in greenhouse gases already, and have been for roughly since 2014. And we've been leading the world by 6 times the next closest nation, which would be England. So that says a lot. But there's worse things in the bill. There are things in the bill that I hadn't even realized. Not talking about the fact that everyone's going to become a vegetarian or that everyone has to join a union. Those are big things that are in the bill. What they have to do with global warming, I have no idea. There is no connection. It's just a socialist wish list. But there's something that was absolutely critical. And I noticed this, I heard someone mention it, and I have to give her credit for this, and that is Daisy Cousins. Daisy Cousins, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, on her podcast channel, the YouTube channel, and she was talking about this very unique aspect of what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is offering and what the socialists are offering in H-Res 109, or otherwise the Green New Deal. And I want to play that for you because it deserves to be talked about. So we're going to go right to that now.
There's something that's been left out of the discussion of this Green New Deal. Let's say, hypothetically, that sometime in the future this or a similar plan was implemented. What happens to the people who don't comply with it? After all, this kind of policy necessarily requires every single person in that society to be on board. But that's a big assumption, to think that every single person is going to sit back, smile, and give the state the go-ahead. So what happens to the presumably tens of millions of people who simply refuse? Would there be legal penalties, fines, incarceration for refusing to let the state have its way with you? Well, there'd have to be, otherwise the whole grand plan simply would not work. But what if threats of fines or imprisonment didn't work on everyone? Remember, America has a little thing called the Second Amendment for situations exactly like the one Red Cortez is proposing. So in order to get past this, the government would simply have to have a bigger and...
Let me stop there. And I apologize if for some reason we got some static on the line. Again, technology, I don't know where the issues are coming from. It's not my side. But anyway, Daisy raises a great and exceptional question, which needs to be asked and is very important to be answered. What do we take from this? What happens if you say that you don't want to do this? Because there's nothing in the bill that actually addresses what if someone says no? And that's a big question. We know that when you say no to the IRS, if you don't want to pay your taxes, if you think taxes are far too high, like say in New York State, where they are absolutely too high, and people have two choices. You can try and not pay your taxes, and then the state will take your money. They will impose fines, and they will actually directly take your money out of your paycheck or out of your bank account and take your property. So the state has a way to enforce the taxes. They take it. If you have the red flag legislation, where someone's coming to take your firearms because someone else doesn't like you for whatever reason, and they decide arbitrarily that, well, we should take your firearms, which is always the answer with a red flag legislation, then if you say, no, you can't have it, if you get notified, which is not what happens with a red flag legislation, as much as Governor Cuomo would like to say otherwise, they don't tell you about it. That's why the law is built the way it is. Their answer is they show up at your door at 5 in the morning, as they did in Maryland, as they have done in New York and in every single state where there has been the red flag laws passed. They show up at your house at roughly 5, 6, 7 in the morning while you're asleep, making you believe that someone's trying to break into your house, and that's why they bring a SWAT team with them. So they break into your house and take every firearm that you have. And in some cases, people have died because of this, as in Maryland in 2018, I believe it was, where 5 in the morning, someone's breaking down the door. The gentleman comes out to defend his home because as far as he knows, someone's trying to break in and gets into a firefight with the police and is killed. So the recourse for the government, if you're trying to protect your property and to maintain your property, which happens to be a firearm, their answer is they bring a SWAT team and they kill you. These are the options. So this is what the courts will do. This is what the recourse is for the state when they're trying to take your Second Amendment rights away. What is the answer when the government says, Think about this. When the government says 75 million homes must be renovated, we're going to come into your house, whether you want us to or not, and we're going to put in solar panels and redo the wiring. You are required to have this done by law, whether you want it or not. That's what the government is saying. And you have to ask yourself a very important question. What if you don't want solar panels? What if you don't want a wind turbine in your backyard? The government is going to come. The law says they have to. What if you don't want the government to take your car? You like your gas-powered car. The government is saying they're going to take it from you. What happens if you say you can't? What if you say, I don't want you to come into my house? What will the government do? What if you don't want to join a union? What if you're a small business owner, like I am, like many people are, like millions of people are in the United States, and you're trying to build a small business, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the Green New Deal says you have to be in a union? What if you don't want that? What will they do? And as Daisy had just mentioned, it has to be 100% compliance. You cannot be the person who doesn't do it. There can't be millions of people who say yes and millions of people who say, no, I'm not going to do the Green Deal. Therefore, what does the government do to you? No one's talking about this. This is an essential question. What happens? Does the government force you to do this? Is the government under Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, under the Democratic Socialists, which are actually socialists, under these people and under this law, this bill, which is facing the Senate and the Congress, theoretically could become law, what is your recourse? What happens to you when the government says you must? And remember, this is the same problem I had with Obamacare. The government, the moment the government says you must do something and you have no choice in the matter, that's when your freedom is dead. That's when you're walking into an autocratic or a communist country. That's when freedom dies. When you no longer have a choice and when the option to say no is gone, that's when freedom's over. Because if the government can force you to do one thing, it can force you to do anything. And that's not just a pipe dream. Look around the world. Everywhere in the world. Look at Venezuela. Look at North Korea. Look at China. Look at Russia under the Soviet system. Point to any country in the world you want. The moment that the people can no longer make a choice and the government makes that choice, you look at anarchy, you look at violence, you look at civil war, you look at oppression every single time. This is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez intends. She has made it very clear, 100% compliance. You lose your cars, you lose your planes, we lose our boats, our ships. We must have our homes redone. We must join unions. We must comply to the wishes, to the feelings of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez alone, along with the other socialists. We must listen to them, and we must do as they say. And if we do not, what kind of power and pressure will the government, the federal government of the United States, put against us to make us become green? For climate change, for the sake of climate change, which they're going to say, well, this is to save the world, so you don't matter. There are, 7 billion people in the world? 330 million people in America. How many millions of people is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Democratic Socialists willing to throw away to get the compliance, to get their wishes, to get what they believe is their opinion done by force? Would they put people in jail? Are they going to forcibly come and take your stuff? Would they fight you for it? Would they do what happens with red flag laws, that they'll bring in SWAT teams to take your property, to force you into a union, to take away your will and your choice? Would they kill you? And it may sound like a crazy idea. No, Mike, no one's going to kill someone over this. Are you sure? Do you know that? Because I don't, and the bill doesn't say. It doesn't say what the penalty is. Now, does it matter if the bill says, well, I'm going to cripple you by taking your money so that you can't feed yourself, so that you can't afford that house, you can't afford that hamburger, you can't afford that car? Does that make a difference? Because that's just the same kind of punishment. It's destroying your life. It's taking away your options. It's taking away your freedom. Does it matter if they tax you to death, if they give you fines and forcibly take your property, take your money? Isn't that an imprisonment and enslavement? This is the question that we really need to talk about, and I look forward to it. Please contact the show. Let's see the comments here on YouTube. Let's see them on Facebook. Let's see them wherever you are. You tell me, what do you think will be the way that they force people? What happens to the people who do not comply, who do not follow the orders of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Democratic Socialists? What do you think will happen? And are you willing to take that consequence? I look forward to hearing from you and your thoughts, and we'll be back again soon, and I hope everyone will be well. Thank you very much.